Hey guys, welcome. I hope you're having a really good day. So if you've been watching me for a while, then you probably know that my family and I love chicken and dumplings. Being born and raised in Georgia, it was definitely a staple meal that I grew up on, that we had quite often, and I absolutely love it, especially when my grandmother makes it. Now that I'm a mom to my 3 kids, I love to see them enjoying this meal as well. It makes my heart happy to make this and have my family really enjoy it as much as I did when I was growing up. I recently got a few requests to make my chicken and dumplings and show how I do it. So guess what we're having for dinner tonight? We are having chicken and dumplings, and I figured I would go ahead and take you guys along with me and show you how I make it. You know, it's the perfect meal. It's hearty, it's delicious, it's comforting, it's so good, especially on a cold night like tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have my whole chicken here. Of course, you want to go ahead and take out the little bag of goodies there. And I normally just kind of rinse it off really quickly. And then go ahead and put it in a big pot. All right, now you want to add water to your pot, enough to cover up your chicken. Okay, my pot's on. I have my eye turned on, and I like to go ahead and add some salt. I think I'm going to add some pink Himalayan salt today. Get your water nice and salted, and I normally like to throw in cloves of garlic, but I don't have any cloves of garlic, so I'm just gonna put in some garlic powder. And then what I like to do to make sure that your broth and everything is really well seasoned and has a really good flavor is to add in some celery, some carrots, and some onion, and that will give a lot of good flavor to this. Okay, so once you have your chicken in your pot with your water and your seasonings and your veggies, you can add other things to your pot to season your chicken in your broth however you would like. This is what I normally do, and it comes out really good. So I'm gonna let this boil and my chicken cook in this water, and then I'll show you what to do after that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I make the dumplings. You're gonna need 2 cups of flour. This is all-purpose flour. And a half a teaspoon of baking powder. I like to kind of go ahead and mix the flour and baking powder together a little bit. And you're also going to need 2 tablespoons of butter. And I like to cut mine up into little chunks. And you can kind of incorporate it into the flour mixture with a fork or like a pastry cutter if you have one. And also, you can do it with this. I do this with my biscuits. You can actually put it in a food processor and pulse it a little bit to get your butter incorporated that way. But most of the time I just use a fork and kind of smush the butter in that way. So once you have your flour and your baking powder and your butter incorporated in there and some salt, then you're gonna wanna add about a cup of milk. Just kind of add a little bit at a time to form your ball of dough. All right, you got your ball of dough and just kind of knead it a little bit. Make sure your work surface is very well floured so your dumplings don't stick. Get out your little trusty rolling pin and flour that bad boy too. Roll out your dough. Okay, so once you have your dough the thickness that you want, mine's pretty thin because it will cook up and make like big thick dumplings, so it depends on how thick you want your dumplings. And then I just take a little pizza cutter and go down and make go down vertically. And then go across horizontally to make your little squares. All right, those are the dumplings. All right, so the chicken and veggies have been boiling in here for about an hour and a half or so, and it looks like it's pretty good and done. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out the chicken and let it kind of rest and cool down before I take the meat off. And then I will discard the veggies and have the broth left over to put in our dumplings and let those cook up. Okay, so as you can see, the chicken pretty much just falls apart. So I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute. I have my chicken out and I have the vegetables all out, so the broth is back up to a good boil. I added some butter in there just for a little bit of extra flavor. I like to add butter sometimes, not much, just a little bit, a couple of tablespoons or so. Now I'm just gonna start adding in my dumplings. They cook up pretty quickly. They'll get all fluffy in there. Okay, after a few minutes, your dumplings are cooked up pretty good. So you wanna go ahead and start taking the chicken, the pieces of chicken off to add back to your pot. So you can just do it by hand or use forks, whatever you want to use. All right, so I pretty much got all the chicken off of this, so it's just the carcass left, and I put it in here. So I'm just gonna mix the chicken up with the dumplings. Okay, and that's basically it. Add maybe a little bit more pepper, maybe a little salt. Okay, how is it? How's the chicken and dumplings?
Good.
They're good? You like Are those your favorite?
Yeah, it's all of our favorite.
All right, all right. Bon appetit.